coming
We
up.
do. We do. We have Evan Engel. So this is a social media call. So something that we actually know something about. Gretchen, I think, maybe a little.
You do too. You
Um,
do too.
so, okay, let me get Evan. Hopefully he's around. And
He's Senior Marketing Manager and Team Lead of OD Specialty at iCare Pro.
right. So iCare Pro again, the social media.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Adam Farkas.
This is awesome.
What was that?
Very high tech.
Hello?
Hey, Evan, it's Adam Farkas, Gretchen Bailey, and Paul Farkas. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
We are doing great. So
We're laughing at the way your phone greeted us and had us say our name.
yes, that was funny.
Oh, yeah.
So
We use Google Voice for our calls.
that's so funny. Where are you actually located right now? I'm very curious.
I live in Jerusalem.
That's what I
Israel.
think. Yeah, that's what I thought. At first I thought you were in New York, and then I'm like, no, that's not right. But I know we went to the same college, so I'm like, wait a minute. I'm confused. You're in Jerusalem. Very
You're in
cool.
Jerusalem right now?
I am.
What time is it there?
It's getting
It
late.
is 10:30 at night.
Oh my.
Oh, my
You are
gosh.
dedicated and you
Wow.
have to work tomorrow morning.
Well, actually, I don't because I work American hours, so I have to work tomorrow night. So,
Oh
You
my
must
gosh.
be totally discombobulated then.
Wow.
no, I actually don't mind it, to be fair. It allows me a lot of time with the kids, and then I just, I work later at night. So I actually find it convenient. But
Wow.
all of the iCare Pro's web managers live in Jerusalem. So we have a team that's all over the world. We're actually from the company's based in Toronto, but we have someone in Indonesia, someone on the programming team, but we have all over the place. But all the web managers live here. They're all American born, or Canadian born, but most of them are Canadian and American educated, but they live here.
Well,
So.
it's funny.
That's really cool.
It's funny because Evan, you and I both went to Binghamton, right? I saw your resume.
Right.
So yeah,
Yep, yep.
so that's why I'm like, that's why I thought you were in New York, and then I had to do a triple take. I'm like, wait a minute, we're calling across the world here. This is awesome.
We are truly
Yeah.
an international conference right now. I mean, I guess I just sort of forgot about all the Canadian attendees, but now if we're talking to somebody in Jerusalem, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
amazing. So
absolutely.
Evan, we were talking a lot today about social media. So Gretchen's with Optometry Times, so she's constantly had her face buried in Twitter and Facebook and stuff for their publication. And we were talking about how doctors may or may not want to actually do this themselves. And my position is doctors shouldn't without some help.
Right. Okay. Well, some doctors should. I mean, if it's something you're passionate about and you enjoy as a hobby. I actually have one doctor that I worked with for a while, Dr. Nate from Tampa, Florida, and that's something he really enjoys doing is being on social media and engaging. But 99% of doctors don't enjoy that. So I would say for the average doctor, they probably should not try to do it themselves. But some practices have on their staff, somebody who's really into it, and it's just about kind of empowering them to take leadership role in that. Yeah, but did you have a specific question on it?
Well, I was just curious, because you have your program that you have for ODs in particular. Because I know iCare Pro. I mean, I've known Daniel forever from iCare Pro, even before social media was a thing. And it's funny because it seems like you guys have branched out. At first, you helped focus with their websites because, frankly, people needed help. And now,
Sure.
as things have evolved, you're doing a lot of the social media. So I'm kind of curious as to what you guys are doing to help people optimize their presence online.
Okay, so there's basically two ways to reach out to patients. One is if they're looking for you, so that's like really the focus of the website, Google, search engine optimization, and that by far is the most important, just because those are people who are actively interested in looking for your product or service, and you just want to make sure that you're going to show up as often as possible, as far away as possible, and you do a good job when they come to your website. But the other way of trying to get across to patients is outreach, where it's not somebody who's actively looking for eye care, but they are actively looking at pictures of their grandkids or their friends' kids or cat videos or whatever other people do on social media. And so the question is, just like traditional advertising on television, how do you capture that person's attention on something they're really not interested in doing? right? And when a person's on social media looking at their friends' posts of their kids, they're not actively looking at eye care, and they're not actually interested at that moment to look at anything to do with eye care. So how do you get their attention at the same point without being negative? Because the last thing you want to do is have some kind of like, you're an annoying advertiser or a salesman kind of vibe.
Right.
And I think the key is to work within each platform. So every platform has kind of a different reason why people go on the platform, and you want to use, you want to post or you want to engage in that platform in the way that people would go there to be engaged with information. So for example, on Facebook, classical social media, people go there to see people. And so the best posts that always do well on social media like that on Facebook are videos of the doctor talking about stuff like dry eyes or allergies or blue light or whatever, topics they're passionate about. Pictures of kids with cute glasses, employee of the month, anything that's kind of personal related. And then people can like, share, comment, interact, that kind of thing. But if you're, for example, going on Instagram or, different kind of social media, you're going to have to play with each one's kind of like strengths and weaknesses. And maybe it's only fit for certain kinds of topics. So for example, if it's more of like a Pinterest or something like that, it might be really only a fit for, let's say, frames. But then again, you have a significant amount of people in your area who are going to be using that platform for a significant amount of time. I think the average is like 40 minutes per day for the average American on Facebook. So that's a lot of time.
40 minutes.
Those people.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You've done 40 minutes yourself sitting here.
That's true. I have.
Yeah,
I have.
I've been watching you.
But, for every kind of, you have to weigh up what's going to work for you, and some of the platforms are more conducive for certain topics. For example, I work with practices that specialize. So whether it's like vision therapy or ortho-K or low vision. And so for my practices, it's not just about having like a cute picture of a kid. It's really about kind of educating patients about different options that are available. For example, everybody has dry eyes, but nobody knows what LipiFlow is. Or,
right.
So many people have macular degeneration, but they may not know that there are options available to help them have better functional vision. And so that needs a different kind of platform to do outreach marketing. So something that's really successful for that would be something called Outbrain, which is basically like an advertorial marketing, where like if you're reading like a news site like NewYorkTimes.com, so we'll give you like recommended articles or something like that, and then your post or your engagement there is really about giving over information, because that's why people goes to news sites. So it's really about working within each kind of platform and using the strengths of that platform.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. One thing, I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer, and again, this is why so many doctors need help. A platform, where people talk about a lot on CEwire actually are Google reviews and Yelp.
Oh, geez. Yes, Yelp.
For better or worse. Can you just speak to us a little bit about what to do or not do, or best practices if there are any?
So I'm the world expert on Google reviews. So it's like I have a bunch of practices I talk with every day, and everyone will attest to the fact that that's the first thing I talk about every single time I talk to them.
Yep.
It's the most underrated of all potential ways of reaching out, and that's because your average business, in our reports for our practices, so we show how many times your Google listing was seen during the month, and it may have been seen 3,000-4,000 times for a normal single location practice with maybe 1 or 2 doctors. So, and every time your Google listing is shown, it's going to be shown with your rankings, with your reviews. So you might have, let's say, 20 reviews and a 4.3 star average, and it's usually compared with the other 2 people underneath the map. And so it's really important for a couple of reasons. One is it's showing up way more than anything else. So Solution Reach or your Facebook or all the other different places where you could have Yelp, other places where you could have reviews are only showing up when somebody goes to that platform, whereas everybody's searching on Google, and so all the reviews are there. In terms of like practically how to get Google reviews, I think most practices intuitively know that they need Google reviews, but it's more of a problem of how do I actually get them? And so Eye Care Pro has an app which we use for all our practices, and it's super effective. But for those of the practices that don't have an app, let's just work without. Outside of that, the idea is that you want to ask. That's the most important thing. Without asking, nothing very much happens. And a lot of practices will like rely on, let's say, their solution reach email that gets sent out a week later or something like that. But in my opinion, those kind of things, while they might trickle in reviews, you're not going to be getting the kind of volume that you need. And so, asking is for sure the most important thing, and there's nothing wrong with asking. It's just part of doing business in this, generation where people use online reviews to determine where to go. And the second thing is to give them some kind of ability to like do that right away. So whether it's a card with a link, or in our case, we do a text message as soon as they're in the practice. And those are the most important things. And then it's just quantity. If you're sending out 200 a month, so you should expect somewhere between 5 and 10% of leaving a review. So if 5%, that's 10 reviews a month. That's 120 over the year. If you're getting 120, good Google reviews over the course of a year, you're pretty good. And then in terms of Yelp or those other things, I mean, I personally don't really waste my time unless you're in an area where that's a super priority. So for example, like if you live in Midtown Manhattan or San Francisco or somewhere where Yelp is really the primary go-to thing, so then you can go work on Yelp. But in general, Google reviews is enough. It's just a priority.
Do you recommend for folks who do Google reviews, who keep on top of it, to respond to people when they've posted a review? Should the doctor mix it up and actually get in there and respond to a review that they might have, for good or bad?
Yeah, I do. At first, I was kind of like iffy if I do, because I didn't want to draw attention to the bad review.
Right.
But I think it looks like a responsible person, a responsible practice, and you're showing that you care enough to reach out. And I've actually seen quite a few times with some of my practices where people will change the review afterwards. So especially if you leave a review, you have to be careful with HIPAA. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saying is very general. But if you're, something like, we're really sorry that this happened to you. Please reach out to our office manager. Here's the number, the name. Right. And we hope to be able to take care of this. This doesn't represent, as you can see from our other reviews, this doesn't represent our standard of care or something like that. I think that that's something that overall has more positive than negative. But the other thing to realize about negative reviews is most practices are bothered by negative reviews because they don't have an active strategy to get positive reviews. And then the only people who are really leaving reviews are people who are really motivated to leave a review, which are people who had a bad experience.
Right.
That
but
makes
if
sense.
you have a right, it does. But if you have a really active strategy of getting Google reviews, negative reviews don't really play a role. Just because if I'm getting 10 to 15 Google reviews a month, the one, let's say, bad one I get every 2-3 months is really just going to be kind of ignored. And there's plenty of research done that shows that if it's around a 1-to-10 ratio on negative to positive reviews in small businesses, people just ignore them because they assume that there's going to be people who don't have a good experience.
Right. So, for docs who are starting out, how do you tell them how much to allocate in terms of new patient marketing dollars, right? I know in the old days, in Paul's day over here, they used the phone book. That's not really a thing anymore. But what's the what do you actually tell people? What kind of advice in terms of the percentage that they're putting towards marketing?
So that's a good question. It's not such an easy question. I think the reason why it's not such an easy question is because in general in eye care, there's not much of a thought towards that direction. Like, how much should I be spending? It's almost like I feel comfortable spending X, so let's try to find a plan that works in that. I personally think that you should budget by basically making yourself a goal. How many more new patients do I want next year versus this year? And then what's the value of those new patients? For example, if you have vision therapy patients and let's say they're worth $2,500, without insurance, so that's going to be a different value for you than let's say a regular refractive patient who may be worth $150, or if you're a corporate doctor, maybe worth $100 or $80. So you want to basically look at what your expected revenue is from the amount of patients that you're trying to increase, and then take around 20% of that and allocate it to marketing.
Right.
And then just a question of how much you want to grow. And obviously, I don't recommend any practice rush too far, to spend too much money into it, because, there's a lot of testing and learning that goes on in a practice in terms of what works in their area and what doesn't work. And But the right marketing company will let you kind of start slowly
Right.
and kind of like, build up your trust in the system that it's working, and stuff like that.
Right. So iCare Pro, I see that your offer for the booth is we're offering participants at the conference today 50% off the first month of OD Specialty, which is a savings of $375. So what is the OD Specialty program? What all goes into it?
So I'm the founder of the OD Specialty program. Basically, I was working with practices day to day, and a lot of my practices were telling me we really want to focus on this kind of patient. We're not looking to fill our chairs with just general patients. We really want to do either because we're passionate about it, we believe in it, there's more money there. We're the only one in our state who does this, but basically they were telling me they wanted to focus on it. How can we do more of this? How can we do more of this? How can we get more of these kind of patients? And so I approached Daniel, my boss, and I said to him, I think there's really a lot here. I think there needs to be kind of like a specialized kind of focus on marketing these different topics, and we started developing, and each web manager who works in the program has their own specialty that they focus on. So you'll have one who focuses on dry eyes, one who focuses on sclerals, one who focuses on ortho-K and myopia control, and then me, who's kind of like the overview. I oversee all of them, so I take all the practices that have multi-specialties, and we learn about it, and we write content about it all the time, and so we become better and better, and we test out different outreach marketing platforms for our clients. And so the goal and the idea is that over time we become an expert, just like the practice is an expert, let's say, in low vision, so the marketer will be an expert in marketing low vision. And so that brings value to the practice, and it brings, it's really a unique product. So inside of that package is basically, obviously including SEO and managing the website, managing your Facebook page, doing different kinds of outreach marketing, and basically, a whole spectrum of different things. But it's a really good package. I just went to Las Vegas recently. For the ILVS, the International Academy of Low Vision Specialists, and so they brought me down because I was working with two of their doctors, and they were just impressed that I knew how to market low vision, and they felt like there wasn't really anybody who knew that beforehand. And so, that's the concept. The concept is that there really isn't anybody or any marketing company that really specializes in marketing myopia control or specializes in marketing low vision or vision therapy. And so we wanted to kind of make that a big part of what we do.
Great. All right. Well, that's very cool then. And I think what people need to do is actually go into your booth so they can contact you. Right. And we'll also, we'll have this up online on CEwire afterwards as well. And hopefully what we can do when we post the interview, we can continue the conversation online and we can have a back and forth with folks.
Okay. Sounds great.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Evan. And I guess we'll catch up with you later.
Thank you, Evan.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so I think you can see just by the sheer amount of things that you have to do to market properly online,
Wow.
This is not something that most people want to undertake on their own, except for her.
Wait, the way you said except for her.
It's challenging. It really is.
But you have to give it a shot.
You have to give it a shot.
It's not cheap. If it's $350 for a half.
Okay,
that
that's
price.
true, but think about it. People used to spend like $8,000 a year or something on the phone book.
On Yellow Pages, absolutely.
That brick.
Yeah. So it can, with this, it's a very different mechanism. But you saw that there are all those different channels: Yelp, Google reviews,
Absolutely.
right? Instagram. It's just on and on and on. And I
Yep.
don't think most doctors want to actually do this.
So you need someone that's going to stay right on top of it.
They'll stay on
for
top
them.
of it. They'll manage it. And God forbid that a new channel opens up, right? Because that happens periodically. You'll get new social networks that may rise and other ones that fall.
Well, people are more involved in Instagram now than they were even just 2-3 years ago. I'm
Sure.
talking from a marketing perspective.
Yep.
So
Well, it's different age groups, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, then there are the young people who do Snapchat, and then like no one over 30 does that. So you have all this very different clicks essentially on different social networks. So yeah, it's
right.
challenging.
It's yeah, I think it's a hard thing for practitioners because just like it's not where you're going to spend your time because
Right.
the best use of your time is seeing patients and doing things that are related clinically. So can doctors do it? They sure can, but is that your area of expertise? Is that where you want to spend your time? You can designate staffers or help staff,
Right.
have staff help
And-
you create ideas, or you could hire somebody to help you.
And it may be a synergistic type of thing where somebody says a nice thing about your practice one-on-one, but then they also read the reviews. So they can come to you from multiple sources. I know in our experience that there wasn't just one single source for a referral. It would be a patient told them about us, but then they might have read a newspaper article about us.
Right. But the thing is, you're guessing, right? You don't know social media very well, so you'd be shooting in the dark, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with a company like iCare Pro or other ones, this is why big Fortune 500 companies use consulting firms. They don't need the consultants to tell them how to run their business. Why they get consultants in is because the consultants also work with every other company. So they see what everyone else is doing.
Right.
And so it's the same thing here. iCare Pro has now done this for how many thousands of practices. So they know
Sure.
what everyone else is doing as well. So they can come in and instead of guessing what might work, they've seen it before. They kind of know, like with low vision was a good example. They know what works for low vision marketing. So if you do low vision, probably a good idea to get them to come in and say, this is what worked for other low vision folks.
We were talking about encouraging patients to write reviews, and yesterday, I think it was yesterday's conversation, we were talking about dentists, and I said how I've stayed with the same dentist for the last 25 years.
Right.
And I love this practice, and they have given me, it's a little card that's, it's a little bit bigger than this. It's an oversized card printed with their logo and in their
Sure.
colors, and it lists all of their social media and asks, would you give a review?
Sure.
And here I am. Of course, I know the importance of it, and this is how hard it is. And I am somebody with a clue who knows the importance of a social media review, and I mean to do it.
And you just don't.
I don't. And so here's what I think practices should do, or any business who wants to encourage reviews. Have a workstation right there in the reception area, and you can go in and log into your account if you remember your password, and you can leave the review right then and there while it's top of mind. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's hard to do something like that on a phone because it's too much typing.
Right.
So I'd want to do it on a laptop. So it's not that I don't want to. It's just
Well, businesses do this. I don't know if Panda Express is around the country.
that's
yes, Panda Express.
Asian
is-
food.
Asian food, takeout.
Yeah.
Takeout you could eat there as well.
And more food swamp for today, yes.
Yeah.
So-
I have never eaten at a Panda Express.
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
good?
It's not bad. But what happens
food
is
swamp?
when you...
It's food swamp.
He's never eaten there. Never took a chance.
I have taste.
He never took a chance. It's decent food. It's decent Asian food.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is once you get the bill back, you give them the credit card, and they print out the credit card. If you're willing to take the time, they fill out a questionnaire. How was your experience shopping there?
I've had that at a lot of places, and I've never done that either. Fully
Well-
intend to, and never do.
Well, but what happened was I did. I said,
Did you
"Let me-"
win?
Oh, you always win. Because if you fill it out, you'll get one entree at no cost.
Oh, I'm talking
It's-
like the $25
it's-
Amex gift card or whatever they try to
this is
incent
much
you with.
less.
Much-
So that you're getting maybe a $3 value to spend 10 minutes. However, what I noticed, they wanted suggestions. And who am I not to suggest? and I gave them, and would you believe that it showed up?
What did you suggest?
Less salmonella.
No, they were short on having a quality soup. There was no soup choice, and not enough first courses. Not enough of the dim sum, spare ribs. They only had two types of appetizer courses. There was egg roll, and there was a cheese type of. So that
Oh, I
was my
want Chinese
suggestion.
food.
Go on to for that, and they didn't use my name, but that was the.
So they changed their menu because you made a suggestion?
They didn't change it yet, but they printed my suggestion.
Oh,
And maybe somebody else is going to say, hey, that's a good idea, because what they're getting is a focus group.
right.
They have their steady customers, and they're getting feedback now from this focus group.
And now you feel like a valued customer because you felt heard with your suggestion about soup
Yeah,
and more
and I
starter
also
courses.
got a free
Oh my God.
first course.
I mean, sure. Although then you run into the problem where the people who are actually leaving those reviews, they could be crackpots, being the most vocal. I mean, who the heck would leave a review of Panda Express, right?
Well,
Or a
clearly we have an N of 1
I mean,
right here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, they were talking about to know about the staff, everything about the practice that you would ask a focus group,
Right.
and they're getting it for just cheap, really cheap, for the price of a course.
I attended a great lecture at Vision Expo West that was put on by my personal eye care physician, Dr. Bethany Fishbane, in conjunction with Gary Gerber, and it was about precisely what you're talking about the importance of surveys. And in fact, I think I wrote a story about it that you can find on Optometry Times on our